What's up, guys? Sub-Zeric here for my last VOD review of Set 12. This is the final game from the World Finals in Set 12. If you guys didn't catch it, World Finals were yesterday morning, America's time, wherever else in the world. And it was quite a crazy World Finals. You can see on the right here, everybody with a crown in this last game went into check. 6 players, everyone but the EMEA players. No flame to EMEA, of course. You know, you guys did great by making it to the final lobby. Just sometimes little bit hard to compete with these other very strong regions. But in any case, it was a really sick final lobby. A lot of crazy back and forth. I know I said, you know, going into this final lobby that YUI1 was my pick to win it just because he played an absolute beastly tournament. But he had a few kind of rough early games, was definitely in checkmate going for very like first or eighth type playstyle. And, you know, sometimes the first or eighth ends up being more on the side of eighth. But the player that I really want to talk about this game is, of course, the one who won the World Championships. That is Title. You can see him in the middle right there looking at his augments. And he makes a pretty interesting decision even just to start off the game here. Looking at augments, you know, we have placebo, fine. You know, Pandora's items is not amazing, but we reroll Pandora's items and we get stim pack, and it is an immediate rip from Title on the stim pack. I think this makes perfect sense because of where we're actually, you know, playing lobby wise. We are in a spatula portal, and you know, we need to play for first, right? This is checkmate. So I think Stimpack in terms of win rate as a silver augment has to be quite high. I haven't actually like looked at the stats myself, but I would have to imagine this this augment is very high win rate. Title actually makes an interesting call though and ends up slamming gargoyles right there, unless that was somebody else. But I believe that, yeah, Title won. I believe that was Title. We are also watching like kind of Title's POV. So this is the not the main broadcast. This is the broadcast from a Japanese TFT like tournament organizer called Flux. And so they watched basically all of Title's games, and they're jumping around early on here, but eventually they're going to get to like the mid game. They're going to be focusing a lot on Title's POV, and we saw Title on the right already picking up that stim pack. Kind of like mixed streak at this point, which is interesting. Yeah, so we see Title's spot here. Yeah, he made the gargoyle, which is kind of interesting for me, thinking about when you take something like stim pack here, you know, the idea of actually of going for this mixed streak, which is going to take it's going to mean that it's going to take a little bit longer for you to cash out. I think Title's idea is just that, you know, he took Stimpack, he's down an augment already. He doesn't need to try too hard to loss streak. We're at the World Finals, the final lobby. It's going to be pretty hard. It's going to be pretty easy, I would say, to lose fights. So, you know, you might as well just do what you can here. Title makes another crazy call here and picks up something that I don't think a lot of people would have gone for. Very few people would have gone for this. Title takes sword off carousel here with spatula open. And I was shocked by this. I was watching the Frodo and Co stream. They were really shocked by Title's call here. I think he does make the slam literally this round here. And yeah, he makes this slam right now for Sugarcraft +1 as the slam. This is not, you know, in many people's estimations, a really strong trait. You know, not one of the crazy ones to play for +1. You can't go like, you know, 8 witchcraft and pop off really hard. You know, even getting to 6 sugarcraft doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get to that final big cash out of the cake. And so I think a lot of people were shocked by this pickup, the Sugarcraft +1 for Title, when, you know, so many people, even Eldritch, I mean, this person got caretakers into Eldritch, so they kind of had to, but you know, witchcraft is so high priority. Portal can be high priority if you can get the double portal. Fairy, high priority if you can get double fairy. You know, this person, Balmyong, playing a really strong early game with the fairy slam and the Gwinsu slam and a bow already. His spot was so good this game. Volta getting warrior +1 from branching out, so he decided to go witchcraft warrior. Like, it's nobody I think was looking towards making a Sugarcraft emblem except for Title here. I remember reading a Reddit post actually earlier this tournament from Dank Memes 01, one of our world's rep, and he was looking at early augments and, you know, looked at Sugarcraft +1, and someone was like, he was basically like, yeah, I would never take Sugarcraft +1 as an early augment. And obviously this is a spatula. It's different than actually like spending your augment on it, but it's an interesting idea. And obviously, I guess to talk more of the just like the thinking behind this, We know that we're going to get a stim pack cash out, which is going to be 4 components. That is going to accelerate our Sugarcraft really, really, really hard as far as picking up more units or more items. He's going to make the Titans Resolve here with the idea that this can go onto a late game Sugarcraft unit, maybe like a Fiora that holds a Sugarcraft emblem. We'll see. But obviously he needs to start making these slams because we really, really want to, get as many Sugarcraft stacks as possible. And we end up winning this fight. It's kind of interesting. The stim pack with Sugarcraft, it encourages you to slam, but also, means that you're going to be a little bit stronger than normal. All right, second augment here. Let's look over at titles POV. Let's focus on this branching out fine vintage item ladder. None really great items. Item ladder doesn't really work in the way that you would want it. Band of Thieves is a solid option though, just to get another item. And it's just a solid augment in general, and it gives you another 2 components, which is very, very good for, once again, accelerating that Sugarcraft. We're also still not at, no, we are at 4 sugar now that we found the Rumble, actually. Yeah, but for a lot early on when we made the Sugarcraft +1, it wasn't even to get to 4 sugar. It was to get to a just an extra Sugarcraft like item. The other crazy thing though is we look and we see who is this? I guess I can't see. That's Gear PYM. Gear PYM also goes for the Sugarcraft emblem slam, which for all the talk about how like unslammable this emblem is, and it's something that not a lot of people are angling towards. I think he also had the idea that like, okay, you know what, I'm going to take this, and it's a Hail Mary, and maybe I can get to the super cash out late game. The problem for Gear PYM's spot, I don't want to... whatever. The problem with his spot is he doesn't actually have a way to get a ton of extra items. He has a lot of items slammed right now. In early game, everyone actually got a lot of item components from minions. So it was actually like, it's a pretty fortunate opener to be playing Sugarcraft into. But the problem is just, Title has this really, really fortunate ability to get 4 components the next time he loses a fight and he drops below 50 HP. PYM does not really have that ability. His first augment gives him a support anvil, which is, 2 components, I guess, and then a second augment gives him 0. So Title is getting 6 components from his augments, and PYM is getting 2. So you can see the huge difference there. Title opts to pick blue buff off carousel. I think this is a very, very good call here. Blue buff, one of Gwen's best items, honestly, and that's the clear idea here is that that's going to go into Gwen. A little scary though. We look over to YBY1 spot, and he's already got this Gwen on his board. Ends up getting a Nashor's Tooth from his Latent Forge, which is a little bit sad. I think he was looking for a lot of other stuff. Probably one of the worst options. So sometimes you low roll, your name's YBY1. It happens. He'll have many more world championships to win. Item-wise here, we get a sword, belt, and glove here. I'm looking at Starax here, Starax plus something. Even Starax Guard, but here could be the slams, but we'll see what Title wants to make here. The downside between Titan, Starax, Sugarcraft emblem is obviously if you threw all those onto Fiora, then you would have no items onto... You'd have no healing onto Fiora, but I don't really know what else you can slam in this spot. So Title looking to end up losing another fight here against a strong fairy board. And you can see this is a really scary spot, honestly, for Title. He has all these components, but he does need to hit his board pretty quickly, or else he will surely die this game. He's 23 points in this game. I don't think he's necessarily one of like the highest point total earners. If he loses this game, he looks at going, much worse than like second in the world championships. But hey, at least you have the Bard too. We are actually wow, I did not realize he went 8 here. He went 8 with almost no gold to try to stabilize the board, try to pick up a Fiora and a Gwen, just because those would be such big spikes and he wants to move items over. It's a crazy confident call, actually, to go for this here, because, yeah, it's a pretty nice pivot, though. We don't pick up any kind of Gwen, so we're going to have to throw blue buff and these items onto... is that Nico right now? Yeah, this is not necessarily Bis Nico. He does get the JG, which is very, very nice here. But, yeah, this is actually a really, really scary spot. Back to the wall for Title. Needs a good augment pickup and needs to start hitting here, because his spot looks quite in danger of going 8th. We get Sugarcraft Crown, Tiny but Deadly, Freaky Friday as our options. Sugarcraft Crown is kind of cool, but the problem is, like, this just allows you to stack things faster, but we need immediate combat strength here. Sugarcraft Crown really doesn't give us that immediate combat strength that we need in this position, so we can't really take that. Freaky Friday is, like, fine, but once again, we kind of already have Fiora items done. It's not that amazing, so none of these are that good, but we re-roll into an insane augment here What the Forge, and Title has to immediately rip this. This is we just talked about the synergy, actually, the What the Forge. And can we go back to Title's POV for the rest of the roll down? The What the Forge synergy with Stimpack. Stimpack essentially turns into a silver augment that gives you 2 Ornn items, which, I mean, if you think about it that way, is absolutely disgusting. Pick up a couple of Unending Despairs. We get Trench Coat and the Death's Defiance for Fiora, which is so disgusting. We also get Mana Zane for Gwen. We get a really, I mean, this is one of the best comps to have this augment in, because Fiora plus Gwen kind of use all of the AP/AD items. You can throw other extra units in on the backline, like a random Karma or something if you need to. We get the Fiora 2 here, and now the game has essentially been saved at this point. It was really scary up until here, but Title took a really gutsy line, dropped down to 23 HP, and you are going to see this man absolutely clean up the rest of these fights. It is just gross how much work that this Fiora does. That it's kind of funny that we just have this Blitz cranking with the Unending Despairs. He's a solid holder of it, but obviously Blitz 1 on your late game board looks a little bit silly. The ideal is that we're going to get to like a Rakan or a Morgana down the line to use these and just do a ton of damage. But yeah, we can take whatever we want off Carousel here. Any kind of unit that would go on our board would be nice. We're just going to take a 5 cost though, because there's nothing that really looks good onto our board right now. And obviously components don't matter, because this next component is just going to reforge into an Ornn item. But yeah, I mean, you can just watch these fights. I will just, I guess, now that we've done a lot of kind of like the analysis of the game and talked about, okay, like how did we make it to this point, and how did Title, you know, like play out this game, which was very solid. There's a Tahm Kench and a Rakan. He kind of has to figure, yeah, I feel like you kind of have to play the Rakan, because you need somebody, or yeah, the Mordekaiser maybe. You need somebody who shields so that you can get value out of these. And where's Prowler's Claw gonna go onto, like a Mordekaiser and have him dash in a backline? He just throws it onto the Bard here actually, and look at that Bard dashing forward. But I will say that, you know, Title, this is obviously Title's second world win, which is an accomplishment that no other TFT player has. There's not a single, you know, there's many people who have won worlds and been to multiple repeat world championships. I talked, you know, earlier when I was doing VOD reviews about Juanmei, who this was his second, well, potentially his second worlds if he won it. Dish Soap, obviously, at Worlds again, could have been his second worlds if he had won it. I don't know if there's any Double 61 as well. This was another, his second, you know, a worlds that he could have won for the second time. So a lot of people who, you know, were aiming at the second world title here, but only one of them actually made it to the final lobby, and that was Title. Title also had a really gross, let me see if I can, oh, actually, I have the spreadsheet open. He had a really gross second day. So Title actually, he had a pretty bad, let me find his, he had, you know, not an amazing, he had a very mediocre first day, 3, 4, 6, 2, 4, and then 8 on the final day. He started off pretty bad, but his final day, he had 2 6s, which were his only bot 4s, 3 seconds and 2 firsts. Like he absolutely clutched it up on the second day, actually. I don't know if I said final day, but on the second day, he absolutely clutched it up and made it to final lobby from, you know, not an amazing position. I think a lot of players, you know, started that day with way fewer points than Title, and he just managed to clutch it up and make it to final lobby. And that is just something that you feel so much when you watch Title, is that clutch factor. Put into spots like this, he can put together an insane combination of augments. And this is usually what is going this is what's going to win world championships a lot of time. When we're playing in this checkmate format, is some kind of disgustingly broken combination. Because you look at YBY1, he played a solid game of TFT, got to a pretty good 6 Sugarcraft board, but it's just, he doesn't have that broken combination here. He doesn't have that you know, winning factor. We have a Morgana too. Like this board from YBY1 is really strong, but he had to drop low to get there. He's down to 6 HP, and yeah, he just doesn't have this insane spot that you would obviously want to have if you're looking at winning. Obviously, at this point, Title has picked up the rest of his upgrades. He just sat rolling on 8 because he knows my board is so strong, and if I live long enough, I'm going to get insane value out of the Sugarcraft cake, so I don't need to actually like play for insane max cap. He also goes for the Reforge there, I think, on he ends up getting yeah, another Blading Jewel and a Mogul's Mail, which is not amazing, but I guess not terrible. But you know, Title realizes his win condition this game, which I think is something that it's under talked about in TFT, is just your win condition in relation to the rest of the lobby. There's a fantastic Reddit post, I think, once again, to talk about dank memes. It's the same the Reddit post that I was talking about earlier from Dank Memes 01, where he was talking about Sugarcraft, like not wanting to take Sugarcraft +1. But it was a really cool Reddit post from Dank Memes where he talked about one of his his world's lobbies, and how he essentially scouted the game stage 2 and had an idea of how the entire game was going to go from stage 2. And he was absolutely correct, and he used that understanding of how the game was going to go from stage 2, not just his own game, but the entire lobby in context, how the entire lobby was going to go from stage 2. And use that to inform his decisions. And I think that's absolutely something that Title is doing this game. He realizes, hey, I don't need to go 9 and cap out insanely high. I just need to survive because I'm getting an insane amount of value from the Sugarcraft cake, getting all of these components that then turn into Orin items. I have so many Orin items on this board that I'm going to beat any capped board. And looking at this lobby, Balmyong is capped decently high with the fairy +1, but outside of that, there's really no one that's that strong. Aside from this guy actually, who has an insane board, the Title just barely beats. This is Ryue, who played a really cool line actually. The caretakers into Neela into Eldritch +1, so 7 Eldritch and Neela reroll, which is really cool. But it's just no match. It's just no match for how capped, how strong Title's board is this game, which is just, I mean, it's awesome to see. Obviously, Title is so deserving of it. One of the best players. I mean, you can start thinking about the conversation for this guy as the GOAT for TFT. You can. It would not be too much to call him that after winning 2 worlds, and I believe actually his last worlds appearance before this. Let me pull up his Wikipedia. Was a second? I think I was looking at that. Yeah. So at Dragonlands World Championships, he went second. Runeterra Reforged Championships, he went first. And then this championship, obviously, he won. So his 3 most recent World Championships, second, first. Imagine if he had won Dragonlands, and because one thing goes slightly different, and Title wins that championship instead of Shunga. I wanted to go look at points wise. Let me look at the final lobby. Actually, Shunga ended up with more points with that final 5th. But yeah, I mean, just imagine if Title had 3 Worlds wins from his last 3 Worlds performances, and it's very close. It's also something that should be said, that Title comes from Japan, which is just kind of like lumped into this APAC region, which is all these different countries and all these different servers. And so it's quite actually difficult for Title to qualify for Worlds. Title does not get like a free World spot for being from Japan. He has to qualify through APAC Tacticians Cups and Trials and regionals and stuff like that, which means that, in NA, we're always going to have like a Worlds rep. Even if you're from Brazil, actually, you're always going to have a Worlds rep from it's LAN, LAS, and BR, right? I believe in NA, or like LAN. Someone like Relic, who's LAN, I believe. He has a much easier relative time getting to Worlds than Title, because there's a guaranteed LAN slot. But as far as I understand, there is not a guaranteed World slot for Title. So Title has had to battle through all of these insanely strong APAC players. We talked about the dominance of APAC, how strong APAC is. This is potentially, I think it's not too much to say, the strongest region in TFT. And the fact that Title has to battle through and has gotten to multiple World Championships now, and won multiple, I think it's very reasonable to call him the GOAT of TFT. And yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just the smile. This is also a pretty young dude. I think he is 20. Let me see. It's on his tacticians thing. He won his first World Championships when he was a teenager, which is just insane. He's 22 right now, born in 2002, according to Wikipedia. So one of the younger TFT pros, and just an absolute beast. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are excited for set 13, I'm gonna do another set 13 VOD review today. Actually, I'm gonna, I think, yoink some of Frodan's content, because he's one of the guys who got to actually like watch a lot of TFT, which or he got to play a lot of TFT in like super secret Riot playtest. So I'm gonna do a VOD review of one of his games, and then PBE for set 13 is supposed to be coming out today on Monday, later in the afternoon. So yeah, a few hours after this video comes out, we're potentially gonna have PBE if everything goes right. So we're jumping right from the World Championship into PBE. That's the breakneck pace of TFT, and then in almost a little over a week, we're gonna have 13 out on live. It's crazy. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed all my set 12 VOD reviews. It's been a blast. I loved set 12. It could have been better in balance in some ways, but the championship was an absolute blast to watch. Absolutely, insane. Congrats to Title, and can't wait to see what everyone else does in set 13. All right, see you guys in the next one.